5.5 is called trigonometric functions, and we'll be using the shifting method as well. And for this subtopic, we'll be learning on how to sketch sine, cosine, and tangent functions, as well as finding the domain and range. So note that for sine and cosine graph, the equation will look like this. Y equal to A sine bx plus c plus d, and y equal to A cos bx plus c plus d. Note that in order to get the shape of your graph, this time we will look at the value of A times B. So when you do A times B for sine, that will give you the shape of your graph. The same thing happens for cos function, where you look at the value of A times B. That will give you the shape of your graph. Next, we can find the phase shift for cosine and sine functions by looking at everything inside the bracket. So bx plus c, you let it equal to 0, and then you solve for x. That will tell you your graph will shift to the left or to the right. So basically, phase shift can also be called as the horizontal shift. And lastly, the value of d at the back here will tell your graph whether it shifts upward or downwards. Let's start with sine function. So the first step is to write y equal to A sine bx plus c plus d. And then we're going to look at the value of A times b. If A times b is positive, your graph will look like this. So it's going to look like a wave, and it goes up first. But if the value of AB is negative, your graph will look like this, and it is a wave shape, but this time it goes downward first. Then you need to find the period P, which is equal to 2 pi over modulus B. This will give you one full cycle of your sine function. For the second step, you need to do the phase shift first. So you're going to take everything inside the bracket, which is bx plus c, you let it equal to 0, and then you find the value of x. And you also need to find the interval of one cycle, so just write down bx plus c is between 0 and 2 pi, and it must have this equal sign. So don't forget to write equal sign. And the last step is to find the minimum and the maximum point of your sine function. So just write down d plus minus a. So that will give you the minimum and the maximum value of your y coordinate. We're going to do the same thing for the cosine function. So the first step is to write the equation y, and then we will look at the value of a times b. If AB is positive, your graph will look like this, which is inverted bell shape. But if the value of AB is negative, your graph will look like this, and this is what we call as bell shape. You also need to find the period P, which is equal to 2 pi over modulus B, and that will give you one full cycle of your cosine function. The second step is to find the phase shift, so just let everything inside the bracket to equal to 0, and then you find the value of x. So that will give you the phase shift. You also need to find the interval of one cycle, so just let bx plus c between 0 and 2 pi, and make sure that you put the equal sign here. And the last step is to find the minimum and maximum value of your y coordinate, so just write down d plus minus a.